This is Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Mitch Lafon.
Welcome to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Joining me on the phone this week, it is drummer extraordinaire Brian Tichy. He has, of course, spent time with Billy Idol, Whitesnake, and, yes, Foreigner. But he is back now with a new band called Silverthorne. The band has a video out now called Tear the Sky Wide Open, which you can check out on, of course, YouTube. And the band includes Daniel Spree and Pete Shoulder. Now, for folks out there who know that I'm a huge Thunder fan from the UK, Pete, of course, has played in Thunder. When one of the guys had a bit of a cancer scare, he came in and took over. But also, he has done The Union with Luke Morley. And Pete's vocals are absolutely spectacular. And if you listen to this song, Tear the Sky Wide Open, guess what? The vocals are absolutely spectacular. Their debut EP will be out soon, but of course, we get all that news and all that information from Brian. And so, you know what? We're going to keep this short today. Without further ado, here is le seul et unique, the one, the only, drummer extraordinaire and creator of Bonzo Bash, Brian Tichy. We are speaking with drummer Brian Tichy. The new band is Silverthorne, and it includes a singer and guitarist Pete Shoulder and Daniel Spree. As we say in Montreal, bonjour, Brian. How are you?
All right. How you doing, Mitch? All cool here.
Good. The last time we spoke was a few years ago, so it's nice to have you on the phone again and have a nice chat and speak music.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Let us promote music. You, of course, have spent some time with pretty much every band I've always ever loved. Whitesnake, Foreigner, Billy Idol, and now this. Talk to me about sort of what's the plan on this. Is this a band moving forward, or is this just three guys putting out a project and then you move on to the next kind of thing? What's sort of the goal for Silverthorne?
Yeah, we wrote one song and figured that's good enough, call it a day, and that's it. That's all you're going to get. We're done.
That's the way to do it. No, but is it something...
Yeah, Mitch, there was a bit of a silence there. I thought I threw you off for a second. I'm just joking.
No.
Joking.
Well, all right, here, I'll tell you a little secret, and the listeners can be in on this. Whenever I ask a question, the first thing I do is I hit mute so I can, not interrupt the guest, and also... You never know if the dog's going to start barking or if there's something's going to come knocking on the door. So I always go to mute as soon as I ask a question. So,
all right. Yeah, they left me a smidge bewildered as to, oh, geez, maybe that wasn't so obvious there. Maybe he really thinks we're just doing one single and we're done.
Yeah.
But
I'm hanging up on this. Forget this. No. But seriously, is this because, you've tried other projects. You tried the stuff with Sass Jordan and all this. And at some point you go, OK, I'm going to have to move on. Or I find another musical outlet that's interesting and I want to follow it. Now you've got okay.
This is something I'd love to see, and we have intentions on it being full time and being a reality that goes and goes and goes. Yeah, that was from the beginning, from when we first started writing. It was that it was pretty clear that we wanted Pete Shoulder, the singer, guitar player, and I both wanted this to really get off the ground and hit expectations we may never have hit before, So yeah, it's and I know what you mean. Is it one of those things where guys get together, they put some names together and do a record as a one-off for a label, and maybe don't even ever do a show? I totally get it because there's a lot of that. No, we have a much wider and broader intentions than that. So yeah, to answer your question, we're planning on being around. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Now, the interesting thing is I recently interviewed Danny Bowe, singer for Thunder, and we talked about the band, and we talked about Luke Morley, and Pete was in a band with Luke Morley, the guitarist, called The Union. And in fact, unknowingly or unwittingly, I was listening to The Union literally 5 minutes before this interview just because I love that band. So how did the guy from Los Angeles meet the guy from the UK? How did you and Pete Shoulder? I mean, I can understand you getting in a band with like a Kerry Kelly or a Jack Blades or somebody down the street. How did you and Pete hook up?
Well, now that you brought up the whole Thunder / the Union thing, I'll start with that first, because technically that is the beginning, but there really was no beginning. It was just a meeting. In 2011, on tour with Whitesnake, the Union opened up. I think it was our UK tour. I am merely the drummer in Whitesnake at the time. I have no knowledge or say or whatever, or maybe even so much of an interest in all that kind of stuff, because I'm just worried about kicking ass at my gig. So I do remember back then coming into the venues and being backstage and hearing the Union play and noting the singer, wow, that's whoever that dude is, man, he's a badass. He sounds great. Just made a little mention of it. Through the course of the shows, I met Pete and a couple of the guys in the band. I think their drummer broke a head or something broke on his kit, and we gave him whatever we had to take care of his problem. So, but that was it. That was all it was. They opened, and the tour went on, and we moved on to other countries and et cetera. Fast forward, so that was 2011. Fast forward a handful of years, 5 years to 2016. How this answers your question. How did we get together and become this new band, Silverthorne? Back in 2016, I'll make it succinct. I was doing a project, and there was some music already recorded for a new project with the DeLeo brothers from STP. This project hasn't seen the light of day, so that's not happening or whatever. But at the time, STP didn't have a singer. We, the DeLeos and I, had been friends for a while. We didn't have a singer, but we was like, let's go record a bunch of songs. So we put a bunch of ideas down. Through one thing or another, Pete, we got in touch with Pete. Pete got in touch with them one way or another. And the guys heard his voice, like, wow, this guy's amazing. Eventually, months later, Pete comes out and stays at my place, and we essentially make an entire record. End of 2016. So this carries on into 2017. We're all, hopeful. We have high hopes, and we're, planning on this being a thing. Well, somewhere in there, as you would imagine might happen, a singer comes in that's ultimately the new singer for STP, who, maybe they weren't even, maybe it just fell in their laps or something, but it worked out where now they have a guy that they feel is the right man for the job for STP. They had to make a decision. And we understood that they chose to go down the road of STP and keep that juggernaut rolling, right? And we sort of, while we're bummed or whatever, you have to understand when you're a band like that's your life, that's your baby, and they chose to move on with it. And so, what has it been? A couple of years now. They've released new music, toured all over the place. They're doing their thing. A few months after that was decided, Pete and I kept in touch, and through hanging out with him and making this record, I realized, man, he's not just a great singer. The guy plays killer guitar. He plays piano. He's just like this well-rounded, badass musician, and he's a sweetheart. This is a lead singer frontman guy that has none of those lead singer frontman type dilemmas or issues, right? So he's just a great guy. So I go, hey, Pete, okay, that didn't work out, but we know each other. We're kind of cut from the same cloth. We come from a similar background. We like the same stuff. Why don't you come back out to LA and we'll do a little writing, recording, see how it goes. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And there you go. So in 2018, we did probably almost the full record's worth of music. We just kind of went back and forth and came up with the stuff, and we had my studio 100% of the time to come in here and do whatever ideas we wanted, and recorded a ton of music. So throughout 2018, we kind of had a couple, some management that didn't work out. It kind of ate up a bunch of time. It didn't really go anywhere. Fast forward to this year, we get turned on to Golden Robot Records. They like what they heard, and we signed a deal, and here we go. So we got our EP together, mixed, mastered, did the photos, videos, we did all that by somewhere in May, before I went out on tour for the summer in Japan. Came home a couple weeks ago, and the single's out. Single came out middle of August, Tear the Sky Wide Open, and we're a brand new band. And I shouldn't forget, within that time this year, I gave my buddy Daniel Spree a call. He's a killer bass player, singer, great guy, and also cut from the same cloth. Grew up with the same type of music. We're all in that same little circle of interest. And he said, "Yeah, man, I like what I heard. Let's do it." So we when we did the videos and the photos and all that stuff, and we're getting it all together, we did a little jam, and it sounded amazing. I was like, "This is, it's a power trio. That's what we are. That's what Pete and I wanted it to be." Daniel came in; he was the final element to make it that. And man, I was just psyched on what we sounded like, and that's the next step. The single's out. There'll be another single out next month, and we're in that beginning stage of the uphill battle of being a new rock band in a crazy freaking music business that we're in nowadays.
Oh yeah, and Pete's amazing. He is such a great singer. It's unbelievable.
And it's got to be noted, because when I had first, like I said, I heard him from like backstage and made note of it. It was kind of like, this guy sounds like a Paul Rogers vibe, Now that's like one of the best singers in rock, If you're even compared to somebody like that, that's pretty awesome. But when I got together and we were doing the other project a couple years ago, now we're together in a studio. Now I'm getting to hear him, for right up in front of me, getting to hear what he can really do, not only as a singer, but as a lyricist, and how he works in the studio and how he uses his voice. And it's like, this guy's just, this is a madman. This is a badass, on top of being a great musician, a great, well-rounded musician, guitar player, and, so yeah, man, he's one of those guys, I'll say, if you haven't heard him or heard Pete Shoulder or heard, our first single, man, he's one of the most badass singers out there now. And the great thing is, it is an effortless thing to him. And through knowing him now for years, I've come to, he's told me, this wasn't just, he put time into it. There's a lot of focus on getting his voice to where it is, so I think they're like most killer singers, they probably have a natural ability from the beginning. Some people just have it, they have a sound, a tone, and an ability to hit pitches, and be in singing key, right? There's you go. But if you,
I agree.
If you hone in on that, what's that?
I agree totally. And what I was thinking also is, since he's tied into the Thunder Camp and they tour the UK extensively, you're going to have him make a call to Luke or to Danny and say, "Hey, can we have an opening slot? Because there you go. Your European tour can be all figured out." Let me move on from him for a second. We are recording this on September 25th. And of course, that is the day that John Bonham passed away in 1980. You, of course, do the Bonzo Bash. So just quickly, talk to me a little bit about how John Bonham influenced your style, and then putting together this Bonzo Bash, which, I remember the first couple of times you did it, you just thought it was going to be so, well, sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I had the perception that it was supposed to just be like, a pickup gig at the whatever venue it was, the Whiskey or whatever. But it's really become an annual event that a lot of drummers look forward to and a lot of fans look forward to. It's not just some random jam. So first of all, congratulations on that, because you've made it this brand. But what does he mean to you as a drummer, and what sort of compelled you to say, yeah, you know what, we're going to do Bonzo Bash and pay tribute to this man?
Yeah, well, yeah, John Bonham, and it's not just me. It's probably almost just about every rock drummer. He probably is the most important drummer in rock and roll. And there was something about him when I was a kid starting out, although Peter Criss from Kiss was Kiss was the first band as a little kid, the first records I bought, the first albums I practiced drums to, it was a Kiss thing. We're talking like third grade, fourth grade, right? But soon after, all the other bands start coming in, your Aerosmiths and Zeppelins and AC/DC and all that. But in that time, when I would hear Zeppelin, and wherever it was, which would be many places because they're like the biggest band ever, but there was something about John Bonham's drums and groove. And I wouldn't be able to talk to you about groove as a little kid, but there was something there that was just more special to me than most other drummers. And I gravitated to him, the sound, the tone, the groove, the band, the songs, the production, everything about it, every single thing. And they quickly became my favorite band of all time, which to this day they still are. So he is probably the one drummer on the planet that not a day doesn't go by where I don't think of something about his drumming or listen to something. It's that heavy. And I'm not saying it like I'm the only one. I'm sure there's tons of drummers that feel the same way. And I'm probably correct in stating that, because when you do decide to put on a drum event celebration focused on one drummer, and it is John Bonham, you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of drummers that say, yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. And yeah, I worship John Bonham. You know what I mean? So yeah, but Bonham and Zeppelin, man, that's the be all end all for me. That's the top of the top. Jimmy Page is my favorite musician. There's just, to me, it's all like just a perfect bit of time where those four people came together, got in a room, and made some noise, made some music, and realized it was special. And look where it went from there. And to this day, you put those records on, and they just stand out. And this is obviously not taking anything away from the other amazing bands we all grew up on and love that are still huge to this day. But for me, they're the number one band. And you fast forward decades down the road, and I'm sitting around, like I said, I do, listening to John Bonham. And the little idea popped in my head when it wasn't a show, it wasn't an event, it wasn't something you'd go see at a club. My idea was to just get a rehearsal room and put a replica kit of Bonham drums in there, get my buddies to learn, probably know most of the songs already. Let's get a band together and just call drummers up and go, hey man, Saturday night at whatever rehearsal room, we're going to have a bonzo party, and pick a song and just come up and jam. Like that was the initial idea. Real simple. But then quickly in my head, it transferred to, well, wait, if I actually did put time to that and drummers were showing up and we're sitting there in a rehearsal room hanging out, like, you got a keg of beer or something, whatever. I'm like, wouldn't it be more exciting, the whole idea and the whole big picture, if they got on stage and were playing to fans and an audience in a club, let's say, well, I live in Los Angeles, a club in Los Angeles, possibly on a Saturday night. Wouldn't that be more fun? It's, there's more work involved, there's more pressure, but at the same time, if you're going to do this, maybe that's the way to go. And then I thought, I don't really want to get into that. I don't want to be booking clubs and dealing with that rigmarole. But I happened to talk to a buddy of mine, Joe Sutton, who ultimately became my partner in the shows. He was working at a club called the Key Club in Hollywood. He was working he had his own events going on there. I played drums at some of them. He had called me to check in about the next event he was doing that I was playing. And I said, hey, Joe, I have an idea. What do you think of this? You put a drums Bonham replica kit front of the stage, band around it, and every drummer, a known drummer from a band, from a well-known band, gets up there and picks their favorite Zeppelin song and plays it. And he was like, cool idea, man. Sounds really, and it was really that simple. And he goes, I happen to have September 25th, 2010. Because this is back in 2010, like May or something. Because I have September 25th, 2010 open. It's like on hold. It's a Saturday night. I'm like, are you serious? It's like that easy? Yeah. He's like, yeah, let me just talk to the people at the club, make sure. Yep. He gets back to me, goes, that's it. So really it was, okay, well, if it's that easy, if I already have an in and I have a date, let's make it happen. So looking back, man, it was really a great lineup of drummers, a great night. And it was the intention was just to do a one-off. That was really it. But like happens with these things, if you put the time in and the reaction was positive and everybody had a good time and it was fun and it was meaningful and it accomplished what you set out to accomplish, you get excited. You might want to do it again. And being that we have the NAMM shows out here, the music conventions every January in Anaheim, that seemed like kind of a logical place to bring a show like this, And so we did that next year in 2011, and.
You did?
Yeah, we did. It was only like 4 months later. That's how psyched I was. Like, oh, we just did it. That was great. September, man. 4 months from now, NAMM, let's book a date, So we did. And it was unknown. It was an unknown show, but it was a lot of the same drummers, some new, bunch of badasses. Like I thank every drummer that's ever gotten on stage and played those shows, because they are what makes it the show. I can have an idea, and if nobody shows up, it's just an idea. And, it didn't happen. But with everybody's participation and I've learned a lot from it. You've got to you got to keep it fun. You got to keep it organized. You know, we've all been involved in events where maybe it's a little sloppy or, you know, it's not all dialed in and it just gets confusing and people get frustrated. But you just got to keep your goal in mind and go, this is pretty simple. We're playing Zeppelin and there's a drum set that hopefully sounds good, and we you know, each drummer gets up and plays a song. That idea, that's not that hard of an idea, but it's all the behind the scenes stuff and the organizing and all the other things that come into play that take quite a bit of time and focus. But that was it, man, and it just kind of became more or less an annual thing. We've done it in between NAMM shows and those January months every year, which I think we've almost done it every year. Maybe not 2012. I came off the road of Whitesnake and really wasn't thinking that much about it. And NAMM came and went. And then we did it, I think, on really close to Bonham's birthday in May in Hollywood at the House of Blues. So, but then soon after it became an annual thing. Yeah. And we've done it on.
And a big annual thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's great. It's great.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
Now, I do have another interview in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, and we'll go sort of rapid fire on this. You and I sort of came into each other's world back in 1997 on the Return of the Comet, Ace Frehley tribute album. You did the Rip It Out track, which was...
Well, let me add in quickly. That's the second time that track was brought up in, what is it today? 2 days, in probably 48 hours. I just was on our buddy Eddie Trunk's show, and John 5 was on. John brings up, hey, Brian, that Rip It Out version you did back then, that was the great version. I was like, holy shit, how do you even know about that, John? Well, he's a huge Kiss freak. John 5's massive Kiss fan, knows everything. So I didn't know it was that intense, but yeah, so he happened to bring that up, which, yeah, man, that was a blast. And that was my first, if anybody's listening that wants to go check it out, I think you can just type my name in with Rip It Out and you'll hear that version on YouTube. My first attempt at singing, and I grew up on Kiss and love Ace, absolutely love Ace's record, and was floored the first time I heard Rip It Out. So getting that opportunity to cover the song, which I played all the instruments and sang on, was a lot. It was great fun, but it was also a lot of pressure because I had never sang before. So
first of all, props to John 5 for knowing that, and of course Eddie, man, he's carried the flag for rock and roll for 30 years. So nothing but love for Eddie. But I want to get to this because you did in 2009 not pay tribute to Ace. You got to play with Ace. You did the Anomaly album. You did one track on that. What was that like going from 1997, you know, being on an Ace tribute to actually being on an Ace album? And yes, of course, in between you've worked with Slash and Foreigner and Ozzy, but there's something about Ace, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, that's like I said, Kiss was the first band. Those were the four gods of rock and roll. That was my first concert at Madison Square Garden, 1979. Dynasty tour changed my life. You know, everything follows that. That's heavy stuff. So I've had the good fortune of, you know, opening up for them on tours and meeting the guys.
That's right, with the Dead Daisies. That's right.
Yeah. We did a few Kiss cruises and, you know, a few tours.
Oh, look at that! You're living the charmed life right there.
Well, I mean, you know, if that's what you want to call it, great. Yes. That's cool. But yeah, man. So we I did drums to a Foreigner record in 2009, and Marty Fredrickson, the producer, literally had the Ace track sitting there and said, I've got to finish this Ace track. I've got to get drums on it. We just did all the drums of the Foreigners record. He brings this up and he goes, you want to do it? I go, are you kidding me? Hell yeah. So it wasn't like I was in the studio with Ace and we all rehearsed and worked up a song. I literally just played the drums to the track. Of course, you know, Marty did his thing to it and, you know, brings it back to Ace. Ace is happy and there you go. But yeah, it's very, very cool to just know that somewhere from that 10-year-old kid hearing Rip It Out, his debut, you know, solo record, you know, it was a Kiss record, it was a solo record. Fast forward to whatever year, 20-something years later, was it 89, 82, 30 years later, whatever it is. Man, yeah, it's nice. It's those things, you know, they're worth as much as, you know, somebody, you know, you're getting, you know, getting a gig where you're, you know, paid a bunch of money or whatever. It's like that means just as much. It means more, actually. It's just, man, that's it's nice when those things happen. It's nice when you know, one of your idols is aware of who you are, have seen what you've done and acknowledges it. And it's you know, it's kind of like, you know, maybe that's a little bit of you know, the secret to life.
That explains how you got on the Steven Tyler track. It feels so good. It must have been Marty who said, "Hey, come on in."
Marty, got to give, big props to Marty. As always, we've worked together a lot since the 90s and done a bunch of records together. But yeah, that was another, I'm working with Marty in the studio, doing the tracks, whatever project we're working on. And he says, I have this demo I need drums on. You want to check it out and get this going today? I go, yeah. He goes, I also have a song with Steven Tyler that I'm working on, and it's got a drum machine. How about, we hit that tomorrow? Steven comes in, he does some background vocals or something on the track. He sits there and watches us, which was a whole other world of pressure because I hadn't met him yet. I think maybe I met him once because Pride and Glory opened up for Aerosmith, but it was more like a, hey, what's up? See you later. Now we're in a studio together. It's a whole other 3 people alone in a studio. So, which is stuff I live for, man. You want that pressure because those are amazing experiences, and you quickly learn from, and you hope you do well in. But man, it was essentially a second take drum track. Played it through the first time, and I sat there nervous, thinking I was going to get fired because they kept playing the demo drums and then the take I had just done, like back and forth, A, B, A, B. And I'm like, uh-oh, he's just not happy. Something's not right here, right? And then Steven gets on the talkback mic and goes, hey, you got another snare drum, something with more of a ring to it? And I was like, yes. And I heard what they meant. The snare drum on the demo was higher pitch. Ran over, grabbed a drum, cranked it up, had the ring. It was a higher pitched drum. Did the same track again, take 2. And they played it, A-B'd it once and said, come on in, and came in. And Steven looked at me and said, great job, and complimented me and made me feel very special.
Just to get back to Silverthorne real quick, first single, of course, Tear the Sky Wide Open, came out August 12th. When do we see the full album, or the EP, should I say?
Yeah, we're working on the exact release date now. There'll be a second single in about a month coming out, a song called Black River Rising, which, we're editing a video now. It's a whole other beast compared to the first single. I can't wait to get it out there because it's, when you have one song out, that's all everybody knows. So what's the second song going to be? Is it going to kind of just be like plan B of the first song? This is, it's in the same world, but it is nothing like the first song. But I cannot wait for people to hear it. It was probably our favorite song. It wasn't the right song for a first single, but yeah, that'll be out in about a month, and we'll start some, maybe a couple weeks, start some video teasers for that. And soon after that, we're gonna have to figure out good release date for the EP. So 5-song EP. Good.
Well, I don't know. March is always good. People are coming out of the anyway. On that, as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. I unfortunately have to move over to a new or another interview, but great pleasure. And Silverthorne, man, I am stoked. I was stoked because you were on it, but now I'm like doubly stoked because Pete, man, motherfucker. I mean, no offense, but man, that guy's good.
No, he's really good, and it's like, man, to find, we can end it on this. To find, in this business, there's tons of musicians, and if you're fortunate enough to get in touch with that group of people that make something special and you feel excited about, man, go for it and stick with it. It's not easy. None of this stuff's easy, and we hear all those well-known rock stars and super famous this and that say just as long as you focus, there's no guarantees. Even just by really working hard and thinking you have something, there's just no guarantees. But you will feel some sort of satisfaction if you stay true to your beliefs and your desires and your goals and ambitions. If you just feel like you got one step ahead, one step up, it gives you that confidence to try and get to the next step. And that's what going for it, no holds barred is, and that's where we're at, man. We're a little brand new band. One guy in the UK, a couple guys in LA. I rhymed there, man. I got to write a lyric out of that. But
yeah, you got to rhyme there. But there you go. On that, as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you. Great pleasure.
Yeah, man. Good talking to you, Mitch. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon. Rock Talk.